So a lot of you came to my channel because you saw my video like 7 months ago about how I got a new software developer job here in Austin. And I've gotten a lot of questions about that video and the following videos where I talked about like getting a job and the experience and how I like talked about losing my job. A lot of people are wondering what was the actual process like to get a new job, especially here in Austin. The job market here is kind of nuts because it's a very tech heavy market. And I also wasn't in a position where I had 10 years of experience. I only had like 2.5. So it was a very interesting way that I got a job. So I thought I'd go over the way that I actually got the job, from everything from the jobs I applied to the ones that rejected me, the ones that didn't get back to me, and then even how I recorded my jobs. I have a Figma doc that I'm going to be going over, so I'll like pop that up on the screen when it's useful. But yeah, the first thing that I would recommend, the thing that I did to kind of understand where I was in the application process, was I created a Figma doc. And I actually have a Notion doc up here on my computer that I can throw up on the screen when it makes sense. But this is definitely the first thing that I would do. And the first thing that I did was make a Notion doc, so I'm able to keep track of everything about the job application process for me. I think that if you're not really tracking it, then you're just kind of like, oh, I applied to jobs. It's like, okay, which ones? How many? Who got back to you? Where are you in the process with these ones? How many are you like in the interview process with? So create a Notion doc, very first tip I would give, but let's jump into mine and kind of check out the jobs that I applied for. I actually put these by order of like the way that I applied to them. So the first one in here is Icon Fitness. And this is a company that I was kind of excited to work for. If you haven't seen my previous videos, I used to make a fitness app called Simply. So I was really excited for this because I thought I could kind of impress them with knowing the fitness world and also being a developer. So yeah, that was what that company was. The title was mobile developer. As you can see, all of these are either mobile developer, iOS developer, or senior iOS developer, which was a reach for me, but I was still doing it. And then for every job that I did, I posted their LinkedIn URL that I got it from. So if I open this, basically like experience developing Android and iOS. So I had this experience and, you know, coding the right way, deliver a product that's around great customer experience. These are all things that I thought I hit very well. So I thought I had a pretty good chance at this. I applied there, as you can see. I applied through their website. I did get a response and I did get an interview, but I did fail the technical interview. It wasn't great. It kind of stinks because I did the technical interview, but it was one of the ones where they just like sent me a form and then they were like, sorry, you didn't make it. But I didn't get any real feedback. I never talked to an actual person. It was all automated up until that point. So whatever. Slack, as you can see, is the only one on this list I did not apply for. I was going to, but they had this weird policy. Let's see if it's listing here. There was a thing that it was not remote, or there wasn't the option of remote, and they didn't have an office in Austin. I applied to Hopper, which is like the travel app. It has like a bunny as their logo. So they were hiring for a senior software engineer that does iOS, and I did apply, but I never got a response from them. I applied through the LinkedIn application, never heard back, which happens. I mean, you'll kind of see a theme here that a lot of these companies don't ever even return your application. Like they don't get back to you after you apply, which is like, it kind of sucks at the time when you're applying for all these jobs, but all you got to worry about is the ones that do respond to you. 4+ years professional experience, full stack or mobile development. So this might have been the reason that I didn't make it, because I only had like 2.5 professional. I had 2.5 doing iOS, and then I had like another 1.5 doing Django backend stuff. So like, I don't know. They never got back to me. It's whatever. I'll forgive them eventually. The next one was DuckDuckGo. I thought this was cool. They were advertising a lot here in Austin, not for their job, but just like for the company. So I looked them up and they had a job open. So I did get a response, but they just denied me like immediately. They denied me based off my resume, which is wild. I mean, it was for a senior iOS engineer, and it was also in Pennsylvania. So maybe they saw those two things and were like, yeah, no. Because this is significant iOS engineering experience, 5+ years. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I would say is like when I was applying for these, yes, I was looking at the requirements for the job, but also Not really. Like, I was just looking for, like, generally I have what they were saying. But if they were like, oh, you need 5+ years of experience, and I only had 2.5 iOS and like another year and a half with web, I was still applying to these jobs. Because in my mind, like, the worst they can do is what they did, just either ignore me or deny me. The best thing is that I would get an interview, and the worst thing out of that is I would still get practice interviewing. So I was still applying to these jobs, whether or not like I thought I could actually get them. A lot of them I was just like, sure, whatever. It seems close enough to to something that I could get. I don't know what this is. I genuinely don't know what this is. And it says I did a full interview with them, and I interviewed with CEO and head of engineering. Went well, good social interactions. I have no idea what this is. I don't know. Okay, cool. The next one is, so this was in Michigan. There's a startup that was confidential out of Bloomfield Hills in Michigan, where like I'm from Michigan. So I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. They had a remote option. Very cool. And let's see if they have their listing here. So this was for the confidential job. No, it's gone. Oh, wait, no, it's right here. So it was kind of weird because you could tell that they were very new. Because they were like, you need to have 1 year of experience shipping products and 1 year of experience developing, which is like very easy to have. They're only hiring one person, and they had a ton of like, I mean, like, look at these experiences. Like, this is nuts. This is wild. Yeah. So I applied to this. What's weird is they never even got back to me. And also, like, why do you need to specify Monday to Friday? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is a full-time developer job. Obviously, I'm not going to be working weekends. And they said responded to 51 to 74% of the applicants. Well, they did not respond to me. So I never heard back from these people. I have no idea what their confidential company is or what they're doing. The next one is Match Group. So this one, Match Group is the company that owns like Tinder. It owns Christian Mingle. It owns like all like the big dating apps, not like Bumble or anything, but like a lot of the big dating apps they do own. So I applied for a iOS developer position with them. Never heard back. Oh wait, did I? No, I didn't. So as you can see, there's a lot of never hearing back things in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of them I just never heard back from, which is good. Okay, so next one's Bloomscape. So this one is interesting. So I applied there, and it says mobile developer. Bloomscape was interesting because I applied to a thing that said mobile developer. If I remember correctly, on their job listing page, they didn't say anything about React Native. So I thought it was like a native, like Swift programming job. So I get the interview, and we're talking through it, and they're like, oh yeah, it's like React Native, because I have a little bit of experience with it. It's only like 6 months. And they're like, yeah, like, you know, you sound really good for the position, blah, blah. So I went through like a few more interviews. Somehow I passed. I have no idea how, because I only did 6 months of React Native. I don't even think they really asked me any like React Native tech questions. They technically offered me the job, and I technically accepted the job. But there was another company that's not on here that I really wanted to work at, and I didn't hear back from. But then they ended up getting back to me. So I had to tell Bloomscape sorry after I'd already accepted the job, which felt really bad. I felt terrible about it. But at the end of the day, I wanted to make a decision that was going to be best for me, best for my career, and best for my living situation, because Bloomscape was requiring me to move back to Michigan and go into the office in Detroit. There was no work from home option at all. They were very, very clear about that. They didn't believe that was going to be a thing moving forward for them, which is fine. It's just not what I really wanted to do, but I was willing to deal with it because none of these other jobs were getting back to me. They also weren't able to give me a competitive salary, or as competitive of a salary as the place I'm at now. So better salary and better living conditions, like, it's kind of a no-brainer for me. I ended up getting Bloomscape's offer and then turning them down later. GoDaddy, so I applied there. My girlfriend worked there for a bit doing like sales stuff, so I was like, that could be kind of cool. So I applied for a senior software engineer position there, and I never heard back, of course. And then the other one, this one, I was kind of bummed about this because Lime Lime never got back to me. Of course, they don't have their listing up anymore, but Lime never got back to me. I applied to Lime, and I was like, oh, it'd be kind of cool to work for like one of these scooter companies. Thankfully, this didn't happen because I'm pretty sure they're not doing very well. This was mid-pandemic though, so like they already weren't doing very well. I don't know why I applied to them actually. And then the last one I applied to, I'm not allowed to talk a lot about this one. The guys are really cool, so I don't really want to like put their company on blast because it's another like secret startup. They call them stealth. Here, I'll change it. They call them stealth startups. So this should be stealth startup. That's a very like, I don't know, cliche name that people use a lot in the industry now for like, oh, I have a secret startup I don't want to tell people about yet, so I put a listing up as stealth startup. But this one is particularly interesting because it was from this guy named Andrew, who was one of the co-founders of Firebase. And basically he had taken the original founding team of Firebase and a couple of the original like developers like that worked at the company, and they had all migrated from Google to start this new startup thing. And it says application method was Twitter because Andrew put out a tweet, I think a sponsored tweet on Twitter, saying to message him if you wanted to get an interview. So I applied through Twitter, through Andrew's DMs, basically. I slid into those DMs and was like, yo, man, you trying to give me a job or something? So I did get a response from him. I did get an interview from him. That interview was wild, y'all. I had to do an 8-hour interview. Oh my gosh. I'll never forget that. It was an 8-hour interview. 8-hour technical interview. The technical part of it was 8 hours. That doesn't include the rest of the face-to-face interviews, the calls, anything like that. The technical interview was 8 hours. I didn't get the job there, but because he's the co-founder of Firebase, he has a lot of investments that he's made after he made his money. So he shout my name out to a bunch of the startups that he's invested into, and like 3 of them got back to me. One of them wanted to hire me as an Android engineer, and I did not want to do Android development, so that didn't happen. And then the other 2 I had interviews with, and they went really well, but then I never heard back. It took me 12 applications to get 1, 2, 3, 4 interview, 5 interviews because so 12, so less than 50% of them gave me an interview. And of those 5 that I interviewed with, 2 of the 5 gave me a job or offered me a job. 16%. 16% of the places I applied to offered me a job, which I don't know if that's high or low, but that's just like what I experienced. So every single one of these, personalized resume, personalized cover photo, and I think it took me like maybe 10 minutes per job to apply total. It wasn't really that bad. And I would 100% recommend keeping a Notion template like this. It's super easy to do. It's literally just a table view that I added some columns to that are just kind of based on, I wanted to see where the flow of the jobs were. So yeah, those are the jobs that I applied for. Those are the jobs that got back to me, and the jobs that denied me or didn't even respond to me at all. So thank you so much for watching. I'm actually traveling to Michigan next week. I have a really cool video about how I raised $16,000 for my startup coming. I'm going to film that next week, so probably in 2 weeks. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.